just need to mute.
We are live. While Lucy is still finding something, I can just start by introducing. Anyways, welcome to Unpack the Stack. One of those really cool streams today because we're going to go deep into some nerdy business. And that's going to be a lot of fun. And so with me here is Lucy, who is, oh, there are so many things. Nuxt core member, developer. No, you better just say who you are, please. I
Okay.
know some words, but I'm not going to misname them. You go for it.
Okay, sure. Well, I'm Lucie Haberer. I'm a French developer. I'm working for Prismic IO, a headless CMS and page builder as a developer experience engineer. And I'm also a Next core team member. So yeah, I've been working with Next for ages now, and it's a lot of fun to make the framework better and every day.
Exactly. So, how many core team members do we have in Nuxt nowadays?
We're well, like
Oh, we have royalty in the house.
yeah,
Sorry,
like we're
to interrupt. Hey, Alex, what's up?
yeah, like
Sorry, I interrupted.
No, we are about like 7 core team members.
Okay, cool.
Some of us are working full time on it. Some of us are like working as open source contributors on it.
Yeah, exactly. And then you also have Nuxt Labs, and that's another team, right?
Yes, of course. Next Lab is the company like not behind Nuxt, but like next to Nuxt to some extent. There are people making Nuxt at Next Lab, and there are people making other things at Next Lab.
All right, awesome. I'm just going to put a few really nice comments, like you have the strengths of 3 core members, which I think you do. Remember, a long time ago, we just met only virtually, and I was like, okay, I'm going to hire this lady to be the lead on some project, and she's like, Tim, I'm still in school. What the heck? I remember that. That's a while back, but there you go. You have the strength of a bunch of people, and I like that. And so we have you here today because you did something that, at least in my day, everybody did. We all made our own PHP CMS back in the day, all the developers. And like, why? Because, right? One of those. And so you actually made, I would almost call this like a meta framework. It's not as big as others, but you have built something that can create really cool websites, both static and SSR. So why don't you tell us about what that is?
Yeah, of course. So, well, basically, I have my own website, like my portfolio website of some sort, or like my tool website of some sort. And well, I had it like since ages. It has evolved with time, like it has changed technologies, it has changed shape and everything. And well, basically, well, I don't know if you can share my screen already. Maybe
I
so can.
can.
Yes. So, well, basically, this is what my website looked like last year. It was like, well, it was fine. It was all right. But the issue
Very
for me,
artsy. I like it.
yeah, well, the issue for me that it was presented as a blog, which, well, I'm terrible at blogging regularly. And so, well, you can see the last post was from 2021.
Oh boy. Yeah,
So,
I know that one.
yeah. So, well, the issue, like, well, this website wasn't serving me well because it was presented as a blog, and well, I'm not blogging, but well, not blogging often. But I'm doing a lot of things on this side, like I'm a core team member, I'm doing projects, stuff like that, and the website was doing a poor job at representing that. So I had 2 options. It's not like I update the website, add tabs and things like that, change the home page, or I just redo it from scratch, which a lot of us like doing.
Oh, we all do. I do that too often. I've rebuilt my website, I think 5 times in the last 3 years or something. It's part of the game.
So yeah, so I went down the road of rebuilding this website in order to just more represent what I'm up to these days and share it with everyone online.
Yeah.
So that website before was the Next 2 website made with Vue.js. It was all right, although like working on it wasn't really fun at the end because it became a bit like cluttered and everything, and like it was also Next 2, so like it was craving to migrate to Next 3 anyway at some point. But well, I wanted also to explore like other kind of stuff because, well, this is like mainly like a static website. Like, well, I use Vue to create this page, but like, do I really need to? Well, is there anything interactive on this page that requires JavaScript? Well, the answer to that is mainly know. Like there's like maybe 3 lines of JavaScript to animate the navigation at the
Oh,
top.
the hero, the header. Yeah,
yeah,
and maybe some analytics or something.
yes, an analytics script also, but that's pretty much it.
Mhm.
So, well, like, why do I need Vue for all of that? And why do I need, like, if I look at the network tab here, I might have like 100 kilobytes of JavaScript of some sort. Yeah, so it appears to be more than
there
that.
you go. It's crazy. 681 kilobytes.
Yes, but it's a bit biased because I might have like a Chrome extension in the mix. That like
yeah, and
adds
there's a
to
few
it.
payload ones with real data in it, but this is the next way, at least in Next 2.
Exactly. Well, but anyway, well, no big deal. Here it was. I was like looking for a way to remake my website. And one of the first thing I went to work to rebuild my website is Eleventy. And Eleventy, if you don't know it, it's this interesting like static site generator that has an emphasis on like templating languages. So it's using all like I call them like old school templating languages, but they aren't so old school and that. They're like Nunchuks, Liquids, and like all those like funky
you had
templating
Puck.
language.
Remember Puck back then, and Mustache.
Yeah, exactly, like Mustache and everything.
I remember when something else that I used became Puck, and we were very annoyed because we had to change it everywhere. I don't even know what it was before.
Yeah, I remember doing Pug with
There you go.
doing Pug with PHP. You can do Pug in Vue also.
Really? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
you can have like Vue template in Pug, which I find a bit too funky for me.
That's a little funky, let's be honest.
So yeah, Eleventy has this emphasis on the templating languages like choice you want. And it has a really lovely community also. Although Eleventy had like one major drawback, which for me was quite like a deal breaker, that Eleventy doesn't have any kind of great TypeScript support. So like basically whenever you're working with something, you're working blind. And whenever you're working with one of those templating language that is not JavaScript, you're also working blind because you don't have any kind of intelligence in those templates. You're just like eyeballing whatever data you might have. So so yeah, that was my main like killer for me. Like that's why I moved away from Eleventy, and I tried then to think about other solution I could use. There's this really popular one right now, solution that like a lot of people like to use to make portfolio website or like agency website, which is Astro.
The new kid on the block that is on fire, essentially. It's amazing.
Yes, exactly. It's really cool. It has a great developer experience, it's like production ready and everything. I almost considered using it. The only reason that made me like not use it really, and is that basically Astro doesn't have like really modular server-side rendering support, which is which was a requirement for me for my website, which we'll see later why. So yeah, that's why I like Astro wasn't the deal for me.
Did you kind of steal their island architecture? Because that is like so crazy cool.
Yeah, well, the answer to that is no. I don't know. Iron architecture is like really cool and like practical. Although like the question for me is like, do I really have a need for that? And well, as we've seen on my website, on my old website here, like on the home page, like the only JavaScript I need is really like just like few lines to make a header like pop up or pop out. Well, like you can just do that with like vanilla JavaScript in your page. Like
true, because with an island that will add 100 lines of boilerplate for sure.
Yeah,
you don't actually need that.
Yeah,
Alex has been saying that your audio is cutting out, but it seems to be totally fine on my end. Are you seeing any sort of issues on your connection, or?
Well, I can try speaking better in my mic, but thanks, Alex, for the heads up.
Oh, look. He says it seems to be on his end. There you go. Yeah. Solved. Next.
Internet, Alex. Okay, so yeah, well, that's well, so basically, yeah, I had my website in Next 2. I could update it to Next 3. I considered Eleventy, it didn't make the cut. I considered Astro, it didn't make the cut. And so that's when I decided to make my own framework, which sounds like
Because of reasons? Like what? What the
well,
heck?
like because nothing made the cut for me. Like nothing had both a
Yeah.
great TypeScript integration and a great server-side rendering support, which are like the two main thing I need, while also like having like a solution that is like minimal, because of course like Next and like Next.js both have like great TypeScript and
Yes,
SSR
they do.
support, but they are like a bit of not bloat, because like it makes sense like when you create a Next website or like Next website to have this bloat. But for me, for building like just like a really simple portfolio page, I was like, I wanted the challenge to see like, well, like, can I do better than that? Can I do like just something that is like really minimal and that suits my style, suits my need, and like makes me happy to develop with it? And well, that's when I started to explore doing my own framework, and that's how I made Acti, which is
So
yeah.
look at this comment. This is essentially what you did.
iPhone and Pixel didn't make the cut, so I'm engineering my own smartphone. Exactly.
You know what? This is just what developers do. And I like
Mhm.
it. It's part of the game. Because also, if you have done this, you have so much more experience and feeling about what others do that build stuff like this. The community backlash, all the things, right? So it's really interesting to actually go through the motions.
Yeah.
And then you get to make like a marketing website and messaging and design. There's a whole bunch of things there. It's very cool.
Yeah, exactly. It's also like, well, it's exciting like to build something from scratch, and it teaches you a lot also, like because my daily job is like to make the SDK at Prismic and to work on
Yep.
Next, and well, like making that kind of like small project to some extent like teaches you like some like base skill that like are to some extent involved in those more everyday like real jobs, so to say.
Well, what is interesting to me on this is you have to have overview of how people would use something, how it's perceived. Did the message that you said on this page actually cover the context of what you're doing? There's a whole lot of different life skills kind of that you need to be able to do this well. And so I would tell everybody to do this. Maybe not publish it. In your case, do publish it, but not for everyone. But there you go. So tell us a bit more.
Okay, so
Active. Where does the name come from?
well, all right. So the name comes from German. Well, it's Acte is German for file, basically, and Acte is basically a file generator. And
Nice.
what I mean is that with Acte you can generate HTML file because that's what you need to have a website. But you can also generate JSON file. You can generate XML file. You can generate SVG file. Anything that is textual, basically.
Okay.
So so that's why it's named like a file in German, so to say. So Acti basically inspires quite a lot from Eleventy, but the twist is that it has a focus on TypeScript rather than on templating languages. Because I guess I don't know, we could get started with that, but basically for me what's important is that when I template I template with the data that I know or like I know maybe or like that kind of stuff. And so that's what Acti enables you to do. And
All right.
so basically Acti is just like a really like small framework. It's like I guess it's written somewhere. Yeah, it's a 6 kilobyte framework, so like it's really tiny. But it's just like just the size of the tool to make the website. It's not something that ends up on the website, because Acti is just like a file generator. It's not like a framework like Vue that ends up on your website bundle or anything. So
Nice.
by default, Acti will just like create files from you. It's some kind of like glorified CLI to create files in a manner that you configure.
Well, it's essentially what Eleventy does as well.
Exactly,
Right,
yes.
because that whole tool doesn't end up in your website, but it is a way to kind of convert a template with data to something.
Exactly, that's the thing. And I guess, we can get to see like what a template looks like really quick. Basically, yeah, it's like this. So when you define like a template, like here, you can define an about page, for example. You get like the path you want it to be generated at, and then you just render it and you return like whatever string you want to be written inside this file. And well, that string just happened to be HTML because that's what websites are made of.
Exactly.
And yeah, you can write anything you want here. And the thing is that, well, of course, like when you make a website, like you need data from it. And that's why you have those data function here that allows you to do like all the async heavy lifting of querying data from whatever source you want on your website. So, well, so yeah, so that's how you define a file with Acti. And then you can run it through the CLI to generate this file. However, as developer, like we might need a bit more than just a CLI to generate files because, well, like when you're building websites, you need CSS, and for CSS, you might want to use libraries like Tailwind or things like that.
Exactly.
You also need JavaScript, but actually you don't want to write JavaScript. You want to write TypeScript that compiles down to JavaScript. So you need like a whole like tool chain above Acti to make that work. And that tool chain just happened to be Vite, because that's
because why not?
That's what Vite is amazing at. It's like just like bundling anything to whatever works best and to do it really fast. So Acti integrates with Vite as a Vite plugin. And from here, you're able to create a full-blown like website with fancy TypeScript that gets compiled to JavaScript with like minified bundle and anything. Same for CSS, and you can use any kind of library, any kind of Vite plugin that you want to make that
cool.
work.
And so will Vite also give you your SSR then?
So Vite doesn't give me the SSR, but Vite gives me also the development environment, because again, Acti is just a CLI, it just generates files. But Vite gives you all the hot module replacement, the HTML, anything that makes developing your website
all the cool stuff, essentially.
Cool, exactly. So, well, I'm not sure that's clear enough as a primer for everyone, but maybe we can jump into the code of my website to see more what this looks like in practice on a real deal.
I think that's cool. One question though on my end, do you have some sort of a router or file-based routing? How does that work?
Okay, so I'm like file-based routing is like amazing. It's like intuitive. It's great for users. Like everyone is used to it now. That's great. Although I like to keep things like simple, stupid when possible. So I don't bother implementing like a whole like a fancy file system-based routing of any sort with Acti, because, well, do I really need that? Not really. Like I can organize file on my own. So instead, what I did, like Acti as a whole like routing framework that is based on Radix 3, which just happened to be one of the libraries we're developing at Next as part of Universal JS organization.
Nice.
So basically, Next 3 is using also Radix 3 to route your pages. So is Acti. And from here, when you declare like an active file or multiple active files, you can just write your route that you want it to be generated at. So you can say like, well, /post, and then you want some kind of like parameters here. And yeah, then it works.
So if you look at that bulk data function that returns all these URLs, that's essentially just get static path from Next, but simpler, I imagine.
Exactly. Well, exactly. That's the same deal as Next.js on that matter. There's like some like subtleties to it, because as you can see, I have both like a data and a bulk data function.
Exactly.
Basically, well, okay. So basically, we have two kind of active files. We have single files and collection of files. So single files are like pages like /about, like no query parameters, nothing dynamic, just a static path. So for this kind of pages, I can just have a data function, because I know that like whatever this return is the data for this very page, because it's only generating one page. But for collection of files, it's a bit more not like this story is a bit like more complex, in the sense that when you create, because it's dynamic, like here's like a post page with a slug, because dynamic, like when you render your website, you need to know which pages to render. So that's why you need like this bulk data function that returns like all the paths that needs to be generated with all the data you need to generate. And because it's just one function returning like all the paths with all the data needed to render these paths, this allows you to make some optimization when querying your CMS or whatever, because you can say like, yeah, like give me all the posts because I will need all of them anyway to render on my page. And you can do that in one query instead of doing like as many queries as you have blog posts on your pages.
Oh, that is very interesting. I like that.
So that's this kind of optimization. But then when you're on server-side rendering context, so if you want to server-side render a post, for example, you don't want to query all the posts. You just want to query the data necessary for one post, the one that you want to server-side render. That's why when you're generating like dynamic files, you have the option to, like, you can optionally implement an additional data function that has just to perform the heavy lifting required to render one post. And this data function works more like next async data that receives query parameter. And with those query parameters, you're responsible to create the data to render that post on server-side render. But that's optional. You don't have to implement them twice, but you can do so if you have some performance like requirement of some sort, or like bottlenecks that you need to overcome. This is an option.
Cool.
Okay. So yeah, well, I guess we can, if that answers the question, I guess we can like jump to the site I have right now. So, well, this is my site I have right now. This is the development server. And I was able, like, well, I just edited the title on it because it's not that usually.
Let's unpack this stack. I like it. Let's do it.
So, well, this is my stack. This is my site right now. It's a lot more simple than it used to be. And I'm zoomed in here for the purpose of the stream, but well, so that you can see better. But yeah, and as I said, like the main pet peeves I have, like with my previous website, that it was a blog. Now it's not a blog anymore. It's more like highlighting everything I do, from talks to posts to projects and all sorts of stuff.
It's kind of like a list of cool stuff that you do, essentially.
Yes, exactly. It's more like a still of cool stuff I do. And well, I'm really happy with that because it's why I'm presenting much better what I'm up to these days to people. And yeah, well, I have different design tastes these days, so it's also like more close to what I like. So yeah, like let's get that on like a dual screen. And so here I have the source code of my website, which is public and available on GitHub. So if you want to have a look at it, you can. And yeah, so well, let's dive into it, I guess.
Yeah, let's go. I'm ready to rock.
So as we discussed, like I'm running it through Vite. Like right now I have like a Vite server running that renders my page. And this is what gives me like this localhost URL, and this is what allows me to get SSR on my pages. So if I go back to my index page here, I can change the title to just like HTML chat. And if I save that, it renders on my page, and I can, well, keep working like this.
So the hot module reload speed, you actually get this from Vite, which is super cool.
Exactly. And well, it works really well, and I'm happy with that. So, well, if I want to just, and yeah, so that's the home page of my website. As we've seen before, it's an active file, so that I'm defining it here.
Yeah.
And yeah, well, it is a static file, like it's just like, so I'm saying like, well, like the path of that is just /. And then I have my data function, which is like similar to next async data function. And inside it, I can do whatever I want to get data for this very page. So as you can see, I'm making multiple promises. I'm like reading some JSON. I'm like getting data from Prismic because I'm using Prismic on my website.
Yeah.
So like all the blog posts on my website, for example, are coming from Prismic. And I have also like some other file I read from the file system. And all of that is getting typed. So as you can see, you have like talks, which are like a record of talk. We have posts, which are Prismic documents, and we have project, which is a record of project. And because all of that is typed, and I return it from my data, this means that when I'm in my render function here, I can like access those data. So if I go like here, like context.data, here you can see like I have my post, my project, my talk.
Oh,
it's
nice.
all typed automatically by TypeScript for me. And this is what I want when I'm working. So I can see like I can go to my post, I can click like
it's so nice and easy.
And here I can
Yeah.
navigate and like render whatever I want. So you can go to data and
Oh,
then
I'm so recognizing all the Prismic data types.
exactly. You
Yeah,
know them.
cool.
And
Yeah, I've
well,
been deep into those. Cool.
yeah, and so well, that's what I'm really happy about because I know what I'm working with, and like when I'm rendering something here, like I have like the talk and the date of the talk, like it gives me the IntelliSense, and I know the data I'm working with. I know if data might be there, so I can like render it differently if they're not there, and anything like that. And well,
So is this like a JSX style template, or what is this
yeah,
exactly?
exactly.
Probably not.
I was coming to that, and you might be
Oh,
thinking like,
sorry.
no, that's perfect. Thanks for the segue. So yeah, like this looks like JSX. Basically, it's like HTML inside JavaScript, but actually, it's not JSX.
Exactly.
It's a string. We have like the backticks here and here, so it's
Yeah,
just a string.
exactly.
And the reason we have the fancy HTML highlighting is that you can add like those fancy like comments on top of them that gives you the highlighting and IntelliSense and everything that you expect in HTML. So if I were to remove that, you can see that it's not like all stringy.
Oh, wow. And
And
so is that VS Code specific?
I guess a lot of editors are doing that.
Oh, I didn't even know. Very nice.
Yeah, well, yeah, well, I'm only working on VS Code, so as long as it works here, I'm fine with it. But I'm pretty sure it works on.
Let's not talk to the WebStorm people. We're fine.
But I'm pretty sure it works on WebStorm too, and maybe
sure.
other ideas. Might not work in Vim, or you might spend hours configuring it to work. I don't know.
Yeah, but that's if you use Vim, you want that. We're good.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, and so instead of JSX, in JSX, when you want to interpolate data, you have to use just like one pair of curly braces to get back to JavaScript.
Exactly.
In Vue templates, it's like two pair of curly braces. But well, here, because it's just like a template string, you can just use the dollar braces
just the normal stuff
to get back to JavaScript. And what I like about that is what I like about this A project, because it's all JavaScript, like, well, there's no JSX fanciness, but still it's all JavaScript. So you can create components of your own to like render your website.
They're just functions. It's extremely simple.
Exactly. And well, that's also, well, technically like correct components are just render functions also. And so, like here I have my adding function, for example, that is many a component, as you can see, is just like receiving like some arguments. And with those arguments, I'm also returning a string that is the data I want to return. No need for a fancy framework here, because you can do it with just JavaScript and string.
I love that you use the word slot, because it's what it is. It's just a Vue thing and a uniform thing.
Yeah,
like
yeah, exactly. I'm a Vue person, and like in Vue, like those are called slot. If in another life I would have been like a React person, like I could have just called them children, and
I just wanted to say children, exactly. Yeah,
we would have been happy with that. But well, I'm a Vue person, so I stick with slot.
It makes sense. I like it.
Yeah, and well, it's behaving like a slut basically for me.
And you see how simple it gets. Like the as that you have, one of the properties, the header one thing, just concatenates a string essentially again. It's so simple.
Yeah, it's not that barbaric actually.
No, exactly.
Yeah, and well, I had a lot of fun developing my site this way. It was like fairly smooth, and like well, as I said, like I'm using well, I didn't say it, but well, I'm using Tailwind to do my CSS. And well, like thanks to those fancy comments, like when I'm to write something, I get all the Tailwind IntelliSense also. So if I go like text like
that is very
flamingo,
cool.
I can see those are my colors for my Tailwind config. And yeah, like I'm not like giving up on anything. Like there's no compromise.
Not at all. And you know, it's interesting to me looking at how you do the templates. Like when we had this, I think this was ES 2017 or something when this came out with the backtick template thing. And when that came out, I thought, okay, we're just going to see these kind of templates now, because before it was really annoying to do any of this. And then I've never seen any framework use the native string concatenation like this. They all use JSX or some version of it. Why not just do this? I actually really like this.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm not like casting shades on JSX or whatever. Like
No, sure.
there's a lot of reason why JSX has to be this way, and it works also great. So well, as long as it works.
True.
So
Well, what's cool about this is the fact that you haven't had to kind of figure out your own alphabet of what is now a Vue code, like a template language. You don't have to because it exists already.
yeah, exactly, and
Right, so you just use the basics.
Yeah, and that's why I said before, like that I didn't have like file system routing. I don't want to I want to keep things minimal, and like I don't need file system routing. Like I can just give the path here, and I can generate whatever I want. And
your CLI just finds the files. It looks at whatever the path is defined, and it just creates that file for that path, right?
And actually, it didn't even find the file because I have an acti config file that you have to
fill
you
literally tell it which one to use.
So yeah, you just said like, this is my acti app, and the CLI I just said build this application here. And so
simplifies it.
At first I was also trying to pull every file and to register them everything, but do I really need to go down this hassle, and can't I just import them?
You know what? In the end, the simplicity thing, like Alex is saying, it really matters. And so there's lots of DX things that you could do to kind of, make things a bit more magical. But the moment you go too far with that, like Nux 2 modules, it becomes black magic. And if something is broken, you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so if you just make it so simple that people actually okay, this is my file. Let's put it in. Done. I'm kind of for that. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm also for that, but I don't want to overshadow the also DX convenience of having things like auto imports or file discovery and things like that, which do marvel inside bigger project or things that needs to be more
well, if you look at that Nux 3 stuff and all the magic that's happening inside, it makes the DX for bigger projects across different teams always the same. And if you have that, you can make these lovely developer tools in the browser and stuff. All that stuff works because of the same way of doing the magic.
Yeah,
so there's
exactly.
nothing against it, right?
So it gives you standards, which actually which the drawback to my approach is that there's no standard. You set your own standard.
Oh yes.
For example, for me, one thing that I needed to do on my page is that I need to have a layout. So I need to have a header and a footer basically. And so my standard was that I had a base function, which is a base layout function that that just renders the whole HTML stuff,
exactly.
the head and everything. And on every one of my HTML file, I call at the end this base function with the content or the slot of this page, basically. And that's a convention I set for myself that I stuck with for my website. But someone else using Acti might not use this convention, might use something else instead. And because there's no convention, this can make it difficult to work, switch between two teams using Acti. And that's why we need those bigger frameworks like Next or Next that sets a strong convention so that everyone is able to switch from a next to a next project, a next to a next project, and knowing where things are and how things are working.
I think that's the one big distinction where this works for you very well, or for me when I built my website. But my other experience is that I had a team of 120 developers that they all worked on different projects with similar things that were overlapping. If we didn't have the strictness of Vue 2 back then, it would have been a complete nightmare. And this is funny because I'm not throwing shade here, but we had I think especially 2018 and stuff. If you were a freelancer, you could become a React project fixer because all the React projects were different back then with the React script stuff. Literally everybody did it in a different way, and you can just go around and make money by fixing people's projects because they're all kind of all over the place. So there's a drawback to the flexibility, I guess. I for my own project, I'd like to try this, I think.
Yeah.
But I just released my website. Maybe in a few months.
No need. All right. So that's how I'm working on these pages. I guess I can share some. I can start sharing
Maybe
like some. Well, tell me.
well, maybe that's slug.ts. That the one with the
Yes.
special name.
Okay.
So what is this exactly?
So that slug.ts is my like rendering like any kind of pages. So for example, like a
dynamic
page.
stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So for example, like my terms and conditions of my website. It's like a page that I have on Prismic. So I have it like I have it like somewhere here. Yeah, terms and condition. So that's like content I have on Prismic, and I want it to be rendered on my website here. And so basically, whenever I create a page, I just want it to be rendered like to / whatever the slug of it is.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, well, that's what I'm defining here. I say like I want a page which has like the path of slug. And well, as I said before, like I want great TypeScript intelligence. So if I go like to my data function here, I can say like context.params, and here I have slug, and I know where slug is.
Oh yeah, cool. Nice. This is very clean. I like that.
Yeah, and you can do crazy thing with TypeScript because basically I'm telling like, well, I have a slug parameter by adding it here. Like I say, like, well, I have a slug parameter right here. But like you can also like check that kind of thing. So if I were to say like, well, actually, I can also have like a taxonomy parameter. Like here, you can say like TypeScript will start to whine because like my path here like doesn't have like a taxonomy parameter inside it. So like I'm making an error. And so as long as it's not fixed with like a taxonomy here, it will whine.
And now it starts to like it. Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, you can like validate string or something like that. So basically, like I have slug here, but if I were like to make a typo here, it will whine because like, well, it's not slug, it's slug.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, well, you can make a lot of fun things like this with TypeScript.
So how do you make sure that when you go to /about, imagine /about is an actual file that you do something special with, which might be the case. I'm not sure. How does it know that it doesn't have to go to /about, but fall back to like the dynamic slug one?
Sure. Well, that's available thanks to Radix free.
Aha. Yeah, I don't know this tool, so I don't know.
Yeah, well, basically Radix free is like just a routing library. Like you give it like a lot of routing paths, and like it builds a router out of that. And when you give it a path to resolve, like it should like to look up a path, like it will perform like the priority on its own to make sure that like if you have like a static page, it has the priority over like parameters, which has the priority over catch-all routes, and well,
yeah. So I love to see the contributors part. Oh yeah, but this is all. I thought this was yours, but this is actually Radix. I was like looking at all these people.
Oh yeah, no. Well, I haven't had any. I don't think I had a contributor to Act yet. I might have one. I don't know. No, I'm alone. But well,
yeah, just you. Big party.
And just me, but that's fine. Like I'm having fun with it, and like that's perfect. Well, there's still like some downloads every month, but I guess like most of them are by me.
It's basically your builds are the downloads, your CI.
Maybe, but well, I don't mind it. Like I haven't made Acti like to be like any kind of competitor to like serious to like other frameworks out there. I haven't done any like communication, like marketing about it because I don't have time for that. I just made it well. It's like documented and anything. It's like production ready. It's used on 2 websites. It's documentation right here and my own website. For now, I might make more websites with it. But yeah, like it has been like more than like it has been like 4 months. That is 4 months. 4 months that is on. It's on my website, and yeah, it's working well.
I have a few small sites like links.timbenniks.dev that just shows a few of my social links, which is a nice small starter. I might just use it and try. It's good fun.
You can. And well, again, like to chime back with like, oh, it's fun to create a framework from scratch. You have examples on the website, and like you have like StackBits example. So you can like get started from here and like see like, well, like that's how you make like something with Bit and Acti and like have like multiple kind of pages getting rendered.
Exactly.
And
very cool.
That's a lot of fun to make.
It is. So the time is flying. So what would be the next thing to talk about? SSR stuff, or are we not ready yet?
Yes, we can talk about SSR because actually, well, we just touched on the pages here. And so those
Exactly.
pages are managed by Prismic. And on
Yeah.
Prismic, we have this really cool feature. It's like the preview feature. You can like preview a page. But like, how do you run a preview on a website? It's static. Like if I go to my production website, I'm like, this is all static. Like, how can I preview content on that? Well, that's where I need SSR. And so, well, SSR works great with Acti, as I showed it to you before. But basically, here, like this page doesn't exist on my website. So if you go to it, like it doesn't exist, but this is like a preview content from Prismic. And here we have all the links that we have. But I guess like you can share the link I shared your team on the chat earlier to people. And well, if you follow this link, you should be able to see this page that doesn't exist on my website. If you exit
Let me just put that in the comments for people to follow.
Sure. And so, yeah.
So is this also like when you change something in Prismic now? Let's change like whatever the title is.
Yes.
Do you then need to hit save or publish, or how does that work again?
Well, if I go like to Prismic here, like I added the title here, I haven't saved yet.
Yeah.
But if I were to save, I'm saving. It will like refresh here on its own. I haven't touched it, and
look at that.
you can see like it's updating with Tim and Lucie.
So is that like a webhook, or how does that work?
So, well, this is Prismic preview feature. It's just like toolbar here that looks a bit like broken on my website because I'm.
Yeah, I love the font. What's happening?
Well, but like this is like some kind of like really edge case bug we have like with the toolbar on Prismic. There's some CSS leakage basically from your website to the toolbar. And on my website, I'm using font feature settings, which basically allows you to toggle the way the font is rendered on the website. I'm using those on my website. For example, well, it's hard to see. I guess I can like magnify. No, I don't have a magnifier. I have a magnifier.
So, I didn't know that. That's nice. Welcome
you have
to
magnifier
Windows.
on Windows. And so, well, it's hard to see that here, like you see, like you have a T. It has like it has a little slope. So this works great inside title because it's big and like you can see the letters great. But on like small text like here, like you can see like the T doesn't have the slope
don't have it
because it's hard to read otherwise. And same like for letters, like the A letters here. Like on title, it works great to have like just a big like A like this. But on small text, it's often better to have a A with like a little like slope like this. I don't know how to call that. And because it's just like more legible.
Same here, but I get it.
Because this way you don't like mismatch like a for O basically. And so some fonts have this like variation from that you can have for letters, and you can activate them with font feature settings in CSS. And so, well, because I do a lot of things with those font feature settings because I bought a fancy font for my website. Yeah, like basically it breaks a bit like the toolbar with this.
I like it because it's kind of like a toddler spelled it.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
Exactly. So yeah, that's why it's a bit like funky, but it works. And well, as you can see here, it's not rendering the page on just / this slug. It's rendering it on / preview / this slug. And that's basically like how I do server-side rendering. So if we go back to my code here, you can see, well, I have all my files here. So I have like my slug file, and this is the file I'm rendering server-side render, like on a server. And actually I'm rendering it on a serverless function. So well, there's no server actually. And it's my preview function here that is.
Well, this is a Netlify serverless function, I imagine.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah. My website
or local node function or whatever.
Yeah. Right now, like this is on the production website, but yeah, it's my website is hosted on Netlify. And so, well, I have like serverless function there, which is like such an awesome feature to use with Versa and Netlify.
Yeah, it is.
And so, well, I have my preview function here. And basically, inside my preview function, I have an application definition, which is quite the same as the one we had like for the website that is built. But here I just have like a boiled down one where I just import the files that I want to server-side render, and I throw them inside my application. And then I'm able, like here inside my service handler, I just check it like we're on a GET request to, well, if it's not a GET request, like it's not anything that I want to handle, so I just say like a bad request. But if it's something I want to handle like a preview session on Prismic, I do like those two like funky functions that are available here, which, well, okay. The result function is basically just a way for me to resolve Prismic previews. It's not really interesting to look at. It's all like Prismic specific stuff that are
It's
like
just your token and stuff like that, right?
Yeah,
and which document.
It's looking at the preview session, resolving the document and anything. It's not really like, well, it's not really interesting to look at. So we can like just ignore it. Just like this, like just like opens up a preview session for me. And then here we have this get one, which is a bit more interesting. This is where I server-side render my application. And here what I do, well, I do like some like boilerplate things for serverless function. But basically the magic happens here when I do my, I want to render a file because Acti is generating file.
Exactly.
And to do that, I have my Acti app here that is imported from the preview.acti app file that I showed before.
Yeah.
So I import my app, and this app can be used programmatically to perform things with your Acti application. So I like Acti app, and then you have a lot of methods that you can use to programmatically interact with your Acti application. And so what I do here, I do first an Acti lookup. So like I look up the path I want to render. So this is like based on the event path. So here the event path would be like / unpack the stack with Steam. And I look up this path inside my application. This returns me a match featuring the path parameters, if any, and the active file responsible for rendering this path. And then I do an acti.render of this file, like I do it in a one-liner, I could do it in two. But then basically after that, I end up with a string. And like this is my file, and I can just send that as a body of my website.
So you're literally just creating the HTML on the fly rather than with the CLI build, and just return it as the body with the 200. It's relatively simple.
Yeah, well, that's basically like a really low-level server-side rendering, and well, you don't need more than that.
And so, if this is that simple, can you just add it to an edge somewhere?
Yes,
or is the runtime on the edge maybe too small for this?
Yeah, because like every one of your files, for example, like these slug files needs to perform like query. This should work fine on Edge, but maybe like if you're afraid of hitting the limit on Edge, like it might be a trouble. But yeah, like it doesn't take more than 1 second to render it anyway.
Exactly.
Well, actually, yeah, and so yes, like from this server-side function, I just return whatever I need to return, and that's all we can have like previews like this with like anything.
And so potentially you could make any website, any page SSR like this.
Yes, exactly. Here I
don't do it, but you could.
Yeah, here I just imported like the ones I want to SSR. But if I don't want to SSR, like if I want to add more, I can add more. If I want to add less, I can add less. And we're happy with that.
Exactly, as long as you like it.
Yes, and talking about like this being somewhat fast and like being able to like run inside serverless function, I guess we can now talk about like the build time of Acti, which is also something fun.
It's time for the fireworks now, I think.
Yeah. So as I said, my website is still on Netlify. It's right here. I have it on Netlify, and I have my production. I have my build here, and well, that wasn't an objective of mine, but now that it's available doing it, it's quite funny for me. And so basically what's funny is that when you're done building your website with Vite, so here you can see I'm building like the website with Vite build. It's building my website. It started here, and basically it's building everything, and it's done here. And well, building my whole website with Acti takes less than 2 seconds, which
is ridiculous.
Which is like
how many files did it render? Like 49 or something? It's just a bunch of copying and rendering, I think, at the same time. Yeah, 49 modules. I'm not sure what that means, but
well, I think basically it's like about like 20 pages and like some assets that gets boiled down to it's working
just
fast.
Think about this. This is not even Vite 4.3. That's even faster.
Yeah. This is
4.2, I guess, right?
Yeah, this is 4.2. Well,
holy crap!
But well, like the goal at the end of the day is not to have like crazy fast build time, but because I narrowed down everything like to really simple things, just like type down template string in JavaScript, like really not bothering with like file system routing and anything, like it shaves down a lot of like tasks that I need to run because I'm just importing JavaScript files and like running them like all simultaneously. So this
because
makes
it's
it really
literally
fast.
just a big import, and there's no scraping of files. There's no async or sync rendering of files. It's literally just there's the import run. You don't have to go files.
So like the main overhead to those 2 seconds is mainly like just querying content from remote APIs I'm using on my website.
Yeah, exactly. Because you, like, for example, your Prismic articles, your blog posts, that might be a query that takes, let's say, 400 milliseconds, and that's including inside this build time.
Yes, exactly. It's doing all of that like in a really swift manner, which is cool.
But the Prismic API is really fast. As long if it's cached, it's really, really fast. So that helps a lot.
Well, that's our job at Prismic, to deliver content.
Yeah, exactly. It's the only thing you really have to do. Make it super performant and stable.
Yeah.
So when you now go to click on posts here on your local, this is actually a query now to Prismic, right?
Everything here is queried from Prismic, yes.
And so when you click on like shaping the DevX team, the first one.
Yeah.
So this is a query, and that's how fast the query goes. It must have been cached on the edge.
Actually, right now it's cached locally because I'm on the development server and I know I haven't changed anything on my file, so it's already like built and everything. So like it is just serving.
Oh, this is cool. So
but
when you do a local build, you in your Active folder, it just returns whatever is in the folder, I imagine. Your .active folder, is it cached in there?
Yeah, exactly. Well, we can dive a bit into it. This is more like the internals of the framework, so to say. But inside, I'm caching the data. So like what is returned like by any file, so like the raw data from async data. This is a bit like what Next is doing with the payload stuff. So I'm caching all of that, and I will show you why. And I'm also caching all the build.
The output also. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Because that's essentially like what gets rendered by Vite. So, and the reason I'm doing like those 2-layer cache, so to say, is because that if we go to, well, here we're on a post, so we can go edit a post. Well, like for example, when I'm in the render function and I do an update like inside the render function, like I say, like lorem ipsum here, this will change this part here. So I'm saving now and it's updating now. It changes fast. So like I can iterate as a developer on like fast. Well, it changes fast enough for me at least. So I can iterate like as a developer with that. But here, like when I'm performing that kind of changes, it knows that I didn't change the query to Prismic. So it just like using the cache data already to not query Prismic again because there's no need. However, if I go above here and I say like I do a change like I perform a change to like the data I get from Prismic, then it will, well, I don't know, I could perform a change actually. I guess
maybe the order of the render, the order.
I can go and do like post dot, I say like,
I love that this is typed. It's so easy.
Yeah. I guess I can change the category. Not a lot category. Category equal like a foo bar. So like this will change all the category here to foo bar. And we'll see that like when I save, it will take more time. It should take more time to render.
Let's see.
Okay, it didn't do it because, well, here it's using like the data one, which you know is the optimized version of it that happens when you just need to render one file. So let's do the same like modification above, and we'll see.
Exactly.
It should take a bit longer, and we should see foobar here instead. It was
if that is longer in your book, I'm happy. that is definitely sub 500 milliseconds.
Yeah, well, Prismic appears to be fast.
Yeah, well, that's not bad. We're in France, and probably the server is very close.
Well, no, our server is in the US because we use Amazon.
Okay.
Well, actually, no, because it's well, we're using Cloudflare to cache our API, so maybe it's like replicated on the. Actually, no, it's replicated on the CDN, like much closer to me.
Yeah, so I imagine you're getting it from Paris or Frankfurt now.
Yeah, but still, I guess we could do like this funny thing, like wait, new promise, and we do like a set timeout of like 2 seconds, and we'll do something like resolve, and we resolve that. So this will add like an artificial delay to it.
Yeah.
And I will add back my quick like pass.data.category equal foobar. And so what we'll see, it should take 2 seconds to like update. So like I'm saving now. Now we wait, and here it's done.
There you go. Yeah, it's cool.
So, well, and you can see like, well, it took 2 seconds here, but like to highlight the optimization, if I go back to my template and I just make an update to the template, so let's say I just get rid of the lead, this will be fast, You don't have to
so
wait
this
2
was
seconds.
without the 2 seconds.
Yes, because it knows the difference between it uses when it knows that when you don't update your data, it uses the cache instead, and it just renders your file with the cache data.
And so, did you build that logic, or does that come out of Vite?
No, I built that logic into Acte.
And Acte is still only 6 kilobytes. How about that?
Yes, it's really small.
Maybe you should be in the few core team or in the something.
Well, I don't have that pretension, but because like as we say, like the challenges are different. Like here, I'm just building like a really small thing, just that suits my need, but that has like some drawback. Like you need to define your own convention, and like there's a lot of like boilerplate stuff, like a lot of that stuff you need to understand. Where Vue has like other like objectives.
The thing is, if you build a whole, let's say you're a little agency, right? And you're building a ton of like campaign related pages that are small, simple apps that are all static with a little bit of like, SSR here and there with a serverless function. This thing is amazing. If you make a quick framework with, let's say, if you have like a design library or something, you add it to this and you always do the same thing with a boilerplate, this thing is rock and roll.
Yeah, exactly.
If you have two developers, that is.
Like if you want to, well, you can leverage that to do business with it if that fits your jam. Of course, like no problem. It's production ready and everything. For me, like one of the benefits also of like building this little like a side project, like a small framework of mine, is that also like it allows me to experiment. Like for example, like this dual like render caching things that we just showcased. Like it's an interesting idea, and that's something like we're like looking on Next side, like if there's like an opportunity to like also implement that in Next, because well it's like tested here, it works great, and so maybe we can also leverage it in Next, so like when you're in development and like iterating on your template, you don't get to fetch data every time, and you can just use like cache data and have even faster reload time. So it's also like quite like some kind of like sandbox to like try ideas and see like, well, like that kind of optimization is interesting. So maybe let's get it to Next so that like everyone can benefit from it.
Exactly.
So, well,
you just have to. You need a sandbox to kind of experiment and dog food your own stuff somehow, and just try and see if it works.
Yeah.
And it does. You build a cool website, and so time is flying. Literally, it's almost 7. Do you have maybe the last thing I want to see is maybe your contact form?
Sure. Okay. Well, contact form is like, well, you can do a lot of things with contact form. So this is my contact page. There's a lot of like, well, can explains me how to contact me. Like, well, who would have guessed?
Yeah, exactly.
But I have this form at the end, which well, like is a form. And when you submit a contact form on your website, like, well, you have like thousands of possibilities to what you can do with those data. Like, first of all, like, where do you submit those data? What you do with them? Do you use a service for that? There's a lot of services for that. I don't know what you use for your website, Tim, on your contact form.
I killed the contact page because I got so much spam that I felt like this is not worth it. And I just put like, go on Twitter or LinkedIn. And that works very well. I get
Yeah,
lots of contact from that.
that's
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
why I add that here, because I'm like, well, if you're like a serious person, you're more likely to contact me for Vismin. But if you still want to use the contact form, it's here for you.
Yeah, I removed it, but actually, maybe I'll use your approach,
But what kind of service
depending
were
on
you
what you're
using?
showing us.
Okay, what, like, do you remember what kind of service you are using for your contact form?
Netlify Forms.
Okay, yeah. Well, so you can see like Netlify form is one of those options.
Exactly.
But well, like the thing is like Netlify form, if I remember correctly, it's like capped to like 100 for form submission
I
per
think
month.
100 a month somehow, and they have some spam prevention with like honeypot fields and stuff, but
Yeah.
it didn't work that well for me. But if you need forms properly, Netlify is, and if you're on Netlify, that is, it works extremely well.
Not surprising.
I just got people who wanted to do business with me, but they were very shady,
Okay,
and I
yeah.
just didn't care for that.
So well, it's
Like 100 per month. It's not bad for a personal site. You're good.
Yeah, but well, if you go above, it's quite a lot of money for forms.
Yes.
So instead, what I like to do with forms is to handle them myself with serverless function. And so
Of
here, as
course.
you can see, I have like a contact serverless function. And well, I have something that might please you, Tim. So, well, basically, what I do with forms, like when you submit a form on my website, so let's do it. Well, actually, not this one, because we'll see why I cannot use this one. Let's say Lucie.Haberer at Prismic.io, and I say like hello from Unpack this stack. And so let's submit that. Oh, I'm on. Okay, well, my bad. I was on local.
You're on local.
Let's just go to the real deal quickly. And so here we go. So now if I submit that, it will tell me like, well, it's submitting cool, but like where did it ended? Well, it ended on my personal Slack.
Nice.
So when you submit a form on my website, just send it to me on Slack here, and you can say
Wow,
like,
you only have 3 Slack spaces. I like your life.
Well, I get rid of them as soon as like I'm done with them.
Yeah, smart move.
Like I have a lot of conference Slack, but as soon as like I'm not needed there anymore, I just like unsign from it, and I know Slack will send me a message, like a mail, if anything happens there.
This is true. I actually need to do that. Anyway, sorry for the interruption.
No worries. So yeah, I receive my contact from here, and sometimes, as you said, it gets spammy, especially since well, it's just like a service function of mine. So how do I limit that? So, well, first of all, I have my serverless handler here, which like kills anything that is not a post method, because, well, I know that's not me. I have a small rate limiter here, which is an in-memory rate limiter. I discussed about that on my one of my last blog posts, like rate limiting without override with Netlify
I think I've
function.
read this. This was your last post. You have to post again, because I read this a long time ago.
It was one of my last posts, and it was pretty cool. Basically, it explains you how to make really simple contact forms, like without using any services on your website. And that's what I'm using here. I'm using like a quick thing that like limits you to 6 submission every hour, basically.
So does this mean that this serverless function is always awake? Because how can it remember?
Yes, so basically a serverless function like doesn't have any kind of memory, so to say. But when you spawn a serverless function, it stays alive for like 10 minutes or so.
Yes, exactly.
And well, 10 minutes or so, but it can get longer if there's subsequent call or whatever. Basically, AWS is like managing its resources like to its best, so that like, well, when it's like worth it to like keep it alive, it keeps it alive. And so, well, most of the time,
so it's smart.
Yeah, and so like most of the time, like a serverless function, like you only have one instance of it running, except if you get like thousands of requests per second, then it might spawn more of them. But in my case, well, every time I only have one running. And so I can leverage this rate limiter here that is running in memory of Node. And so whenever my serverless function gets spawned, like the rate limiter memory gets spawned also. And I can leverage that to like track usage between requests. And
so at least the amount of spam is fixed by this.
Yeah, at least like, well, if there's that, well, it's mainly like preventing like any like smart SE people like to spam me because
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to spend like my day like cleaning up this like from like messages
No,
like
exactly.
this
Only
or
at streams.
like so it's just preventing bad actors from spamming me, but it's
Yeah,
not preventing like spam like to just like send me a message. So well, like here I just kick people if they have reached their rate limit, but then I think I have something, yeah, here. So I check like the body. I check it that it's
Yeah.
like long enough and like not too long. Well, I check like everything you send me. So I check that your mail is like looking like a mail. And also check if you're blacklisted. So I have a blacklist of mails.
You have a few that always I like it.
Yeah, and so well, I update it whenever like I notice like someone gets like spammy. And so well, one fun thing here, like for like there's a lot of spam, but actually like just choose your website domain as a mail domain. So
Yeah, it's generally fine.
so yeah, that's why I blacklisted myself from my email, because I don't want to. Well, I know all of those like are unsent by me, and so they are spam. But well, then I discovered like other people, like well, there's a lot of SEO people that tries to scam you with
Oh
like
yeah, I've been with those a lot. Yeah.
and then there's a lot of like well, people using random account that it's hard to keep track of. But well, basically with that, I'm not receiving too much spam.
Okay, so you're quite good. So, but if I send you an email now about weight loss pills, it's gonna come through.
Yeah, but
But then you just kill it because you probably don't get that many anyways.
Yeah, I might get like one per day or something like that. I don't mind it.
It's not too bad.
It's not a worry for me. And anyway, I still have like my my email available. Well, an email available, so I also like get some this way, but it's manageable.
Yeah, exactly. All right, nice. So, thank you so much. Is there maybe one last thing you want to talk about, or have we covered almost everything now?
Well, I guess we went over like the main stuff. We could still talk about it for hours, but I guess that was already a lot.
Yeah, it was. And I'm excited to actually try this. So you did a good job there.
Thanks.
So where can people find you?
Well, you can find me on lucie.red, which is just like a shorthand to my website.
So it's not this one then. So I put a banner on. So this is your website, but you also have another URL?
It's just like a shorthand. It's an alias that I can communicate to people like vocally.
So this one.
Yeah, so you can go to lucie.red or you can go to lihpr.com. Well, it's the same.
Same thing. Okay, cool. And then of course actejs.org.
Yes, and actejs.org. You have the link at near the bottom of my website.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And yeah, and well, if you want to follow what I'm up to, you have me on Twitter. Again, there's a link on my website, but you can also find me on Twitter at LIHPR, like it's written on the
on your yeah, we always have to find the way to point. Yes,
right here.
Perfect.
And yeah, well, next gig I'm doing is that I will be in London with you for Vue.js Live Conference.
May 12th. It's going to be fun.
Exactly.
Because what is your talk about, May 12th?
May 12th, I'm talking about next 3 modules at London, in London.
Ah, yeah,
so,
I know this talk. Cool.
Well, it has been refreshed and it's cooler. Like every time it's getting cooler. So, well, if you don't know what next 3 modules are and how you can leverage them to make your everyday life easier, well, you can join my talk here. It will be live stream online also. And well, I will be in physics in London also for those who will be lucky
I
to be
think
there.
my talk will be the opposite of yours. I say it's using Vue, but I'm not actually showing any code, like nothing.
Yeah, but it's I know this talk and I know it's really great.
It's weird but fun. I've tried it a few times now. It feels like I'm on tour because I'm playing music on stage. It's just using Vue anyways. But this is not about me. People should actually watch that live stream because I've seen the new venue they have. It's looking really good. So I'm hoping for a really, really cool event.
Yeah.
Anyways, we went on for 1 hour and 9 minutes. And I still want to hear like 3 more hours. I think you have a lot more to say, but we'll do that next time. Thank
Yeah,
you
sure.
so much. And people know where to find you now. And then on to the next stream. And for you, your whatever, you have other streams at Prismic as well, I imagine.
Yeah, we have the product meetup every end of the month on Wednesday, and this is where we discuss like, well, we have invited or guests and like people joining us and like talking about web development and what we're up to these days.
All right, people should find that because these streams are awesome. And also, Lucie's boss gave me this.
Yeah, we
a long time ago, but there's some really nice friends there. Anyways, cheers everyone, and have a lovely evening or rest of your day if you're not in Europe like us. Cheers.
Cheers.